What's up, everybody? This is the off-season update here. I'm going to try to keep doing these every couple weeks or so. I shouldn't have even called the last one off-season, to be honest. That was more of the health phase, but this is officially a couple days in, about a week into the off-season cycle, what I'm doing, all that good stuff. So some changes have been made between as far as what me and my coach are doing now. So wanted to just kind of make an episode talking all about that and kind of giving you guys a little bit insight on my approaches and what I'm doing. So funny enough, as the cycle has gotten started, I've actually kind of pulled the weights back a little bit. Just trying to increase volume a little bit more. Really not doing pump style workouts, but trying to get more just blood into the muscle, doing a little bit more pyramiding up before I get to my top sets, things like that. And I've noticed a huge difference just on the joints feeling a little bit better and things like that. I feel like during the health phase, I was just really focused on keeping that strength as high as I could, just in fear of like losing tissue when I shouldn't have been doing that. I should have probably been, pulling back a little bit more on the weights, but you live and you learn. And I'm not mad about it whatsoever. I feel like it definitely put me in a good spot to have a great response here as the super subs, get saturated in the system and things like that. So yeah, what we did immediately is just test and EQ went back in play. GH stayed exactly where it was. So test right now, I've scaled it up a bit, was at 1050 and then 700 EQ. And just today, actually, I figured let's try, it's going to be 1260 would be the dosing. Now that's just because I'm using 300 milligram per ml testosterone. That's why you're getting these odd number dosings and stuff like that. So it's 1260 test along with a 700 EQ. I feel like I was drying out as that EQ was starting to saturate a bit more. So I feel like I was, noticing the estrogen was definitely coming down some. So I thought that would leave a little bit of room for more testosterone. So ultimately, test is best. I've never actually really tried scaling that up much past where I'll usually just set it and then leave that there and play around with everything else. So this off season, I really want to make sure that I am feeling my best so that I can continue to just get in the gym as much as possible and feel good every session, smash it out. So I feel like that's going to be able to be achieved by, relying a lot more on testosterone. It's bioavailable or bioidentical, I should say. So that is kind of my thought process with all of that. Let's just lean on, what the body knows best, and that's testosterone, growth hormone, a little bit of insulin here and there, but trying to keep that to a minimum, maybe just like pre-workout on lagging body parts and stuff like that. We'll kind of see how it goes. I toyed around with it a bit in the health phase just to see. But yeah, that's not something I ever want to say is off the table. I've said that in the past where I've had, bad experiences with it. I've been like, nah, that's just not for me. But I think I was just a little under-muscled for the situations that I was in. But now, approaching 300 pounds here, I feel like this is, kind of more of the time that it'd be a little bit more, make more sense to use, if that makes sense, just to keep more food going in, and just another lever that we can pull to get more IGF conversion and things like that. I'm sure you guys know all about that. I'm not going to sit here and try to be the teacher on everything. So yeah, that's my approach with that. One cool thing that the last podcast we had talked about on my channel was with the GH dosing. And where I was plugging it in, essentially, it was causing me a ton of water retention and just like inflammation and stuff like that. At the end of the day, ultimately, is what I would call it. Bad edema, and by the next evening, every day, I'd have pretty bad edema and stuff like that. And I think I was just plugging it in too close to my last meal, so it was getting plugged in, and then glucose was spiking from the meal being eaten and stuff like that. So glucose is going up, insulin's rising, and then I was plugging in the GH probably somewhere in that, where that insulin spike was happening and glucose was elevated already from food, and then now you're giving it more reason to elevate. I think that was just a recipe for disaster right there. So what I did to like test if my theory stood true was I pulled the GH out from pre-bed and I put it back in, I wake up in the middle of the night at like 3, 4 in the morning. I try to make sure that there's a good chunk of time where I was asleep with no food was in there, a good fasted window. Then I plugged it in at an even higher dose than I was doing. I was doing between 6 and 8 IUs. So I was like, this will, prove if what I'm thinking is true. So I plugged it in at 12 IUs in that, in the middle of the night window. No excess water retention. The just like carpal tunnel feeling where your wrists just get a lot of fluid on them and get really tight. That subsided significantly. And food was digestion and all that was flowing a lot better, like less bloated feeling. So I think where I was plugging it in was just causing such a reaction in my body. I don't know what you would even call it. I would call it like acute resistance, I guess. It was causing even like water retention. It felt like in between like the organs. So like I would eat a meal and just feel way more full than what that meal size even felt like. And ultimately I feel like it was just all the excess fluid. And then you get that meal going in and your stomach's a little bit full with all that excess fluid. It was just causing a lot of uncomfortability, and literally just switching that around to this window that I'm talking about now, I've seen no issues whatsoever. I almost was thinking it was the testosterone, like was just causing me to be watery, and I've scaled that up even further, and I'm, no excess water. So I think this whole entire last year, man, I was actually causing myself quite a bit of issues other than during prep. Is when I wouldn't notice that too much. And I think that was just calories are lower. You're blasting through food really quick. You're doing a bunch of cardio. So it's a little bit of a different metabolic state. You've got fat burners in, all that stuff. T3's in there, all these things to upregulate the metabolism. So I don't think that was causing me near as many issues during prep as it has when I'm pushing food and all those other things are out of play. So now switching that around, I've noticed no issues. Food is, like I said, digestion's flowing great. Everything is moving so much better now, just switching that GH dosing around. So if you are somebody that runs into that, another telltale sign that I ran into was it was crashing my sleep, man. So if you're somebody that runs into that, you're plugging that GH in before bed and you're getting, sleep issues, you're noticing excess water retention, digestion issues, bloating, all that stuff. Try what I'm talking about. Wake up, in the middle of the night after you for sure had a good, 4 hours or so of fasted time with no food coming in. That way your blood sugar's down, and then plug it in. That way, ultimately, that GH can truly do what it needs to, because it works better in a low insulin state. So that's the way. From what I'm gathering, that's the way that you're gonna get the best response from it and not get any of the negatives, because just naturally those two hormones would never really be elevated at the same time. So I think that some people can get away with those two things being elevated at the exact same time and it's not going to cause an issue, but others, I guess, just you can't, and I feel like I'm one of the ones that can't. So that's the other change that's happened. Other than that, all we've done is lowered T4 down to 50 mics. And food got lowered down a bit as well. That was the other change. So now that gear's back in, we can kind of pull back on the food a bit. We don't have to be pushing it so hard to, ensure that we're holding on to that tissue. But even with the drop in calories, the scale hasn't moved much at all. So we've taken, it's 150 carbs on rest days. No, 150 carbs on training days and 100 carbs have came out on rest days. So we're going to see how that goes. But I feel like I'm just basically recomping now. The foods came down, but the gear's in there. And I'm looking a little bit leaner and tighter, and the scale hasn't budged at all. And a couple of the days it's actually gone up some, even with the lower calories. So super pumped to see how this goes. I had never tried that approach for a health phase where we kind of kept food really high, just to, preserve tissue and stuff like that. So I'm definitely glad that I bought into that 100%, because now on the other end of that, I can totally see why it's going to and how it's going to benefit. Just that recomp effect's happening. We held on to all the tissue we needed. We held on to the strength. And now, it's just going to be a matter of allowing those drugs to saturate and do what they do. The recomp's going to continue to happen. And then I'm feeling better, lighter on my feet, more energy, all that stuff. There was a couple weeks I was feeling pretty sluggish, and I think it was just food's getting high, body fat's kind of going on pretty quickly. There's not any gear in play to, keep that body fat from accruing. So, now to be on this side, I'm like, okay, that was definitely worth it. I felt a little shitty for a couple weeks, I should say, just low energy and stuff like that, but it was definitely worth it. Got super fresh. Labs looked really good. It got me super eager to just hit the ground running and really make some progress here. And I feel like I'm in a great spot already. This morning body weight was at 295. So, and we've only got room to improve and continue to, not that we're chasing the scale up, but we've got plenty of room as far as putting on size and stuff like that, because body composition, now that everything's went in and I filled back out, it's really not in a bad spot at all. Now that I'm getting a more accurate visual representation of what's going on. So I'm super excited to see how this all pans out. Again, like me and Andrew, my coach, had talked about, we're not necessarily chasing the scale up, but if it does happen to go up, that's totally fine. We're actually, we've made the adjustments to pull food down. So whatever happens with even that lower food, because we knew what my food needed to be for maintenance calories. So now we've pulled food down. So whatever happens is going to be, definitely some tissue growing. So I'm pumped to see how this all pans out. This is going to be an off season that's going to be life-changing for sure, is just as far as size accrued and what I need to make a massive change on stage and continue to win and do much better at the national level. That's where that's the next step, is going up there to the national level and seeing what I can do. And I feel like this off season is going to be the one to get all that done for sure, get all that size needed to go up there and really make some noise. So that is my plan. That's what's going on right now, guys. Carbs are, just to give you guys some numbers, carbs are right now on training days, they are at like 750, proteins at 300, and then fats are at 65 grams of fat right now. And then rest days are 600 grams of carbs, and then proteins the same, fats are the same as well on rest days. So that's where we're at now macros wise. Our plan was to pull back a bit, and then as we recomp some, then bump the food back up. So now, like I said, now that we've got more plug-ins to hold on to tissue, we can kind of pull back on the food. That was the thinking there. Just really focus on training performance, making sure that we're increasing that. Recovery's feeling great. I'm recovering so much better already. Just in a week, I can tell a huge difference in my recovery. Like where I was getting smashed from pretty much 2 sets on every movement per workout, is about 10 working sets per workout, and I was getting destroyed just from that. Now I'm in there and I'm adding sets into stuff, doing intensifiers already, and recovering well from that. So I feel like we're already in a great spot. I'm gonna hit the ground running, make a huge difference here, huge change, and I want to put on all the size that I need to, and then we're gonna probably take another health phase and then start prepping for a big show this year, and definitely want to make some noise. And that pro card, I'm definitely coming for it. So guys, y'all stay tuned for the journey. Stay tuned on the channel for more training. Guys, down below, I'm going to put the in the description box, I'm going to make sure that I tag my Instagram in that. You guys make sure you give me a follow over there to keep up to date with what I'm doing more on the daily basis. I post on there pretty consistently, stories, reels, all that good jazz. If you need coaching, don't hesitate to reach out as well. This year I'm focused on working with more competitors. I've coached plenty of lifestyle people, so this year the main focus is getting a lot more competitive athletes on the roster. So far I've gotten a couple power lifters, I've got one high rocks athlete, and then I've got one natural competitor bodybuilder. most everyone else on my roster is lifestyle, TRT plus guys. Guys in their 40s, 50s, trying to get in the best shape that they possibly can. But all that being said, with my competitive background, I've won my first two shows, and the only two shows that I've done, I've won my weight class and the overall. And I plan on going to the nationals this year and waxing ass there too. So that's the plan. Put on as much size as I can right now and go up there and make some noise. So guys, if you want any help with anything pertaining to anything like that competitive wise, I am right here, and I would love to help you on your journey. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell, all that good stuff, man. Love y'all.